Two men stand in the same checkout line. Same age, same jackets, same tired eyes. One glances at his phone before the card goes in. The other does not. That single glance, small as a blink, is the whole distance between their lives. One number explains it, and neither man will ever say it out loud. Your bank balance is not a report card on your worth. It is an X-ray of your options. It cannot see kindness, talent, or how your kids feel about you. It sees one thing with brutal clarity. How many times in a row you can say no to the world before the world stops asking. Here is a strange law of money. People at zero know their balance to the cent, updated hourly, carried like a stone in the chest. People at 10 million have to look it up. The poorer the account, the sharper the memory. Precision, it turns out, is a symptom of pain. Start below zero, where the minus sign lives. Every purchase is a small bet that payday arrives before the charge does. You buy groceries with the account overdrawn, and dinner tastes like arithmetic. The card machine's 3-second pause is the longest silence in America. Nobody who has heard it ever forgets it. Be careful reading that minus sign, though. It rarely spells lazy. Mostly, it spells history. A layoff 2 winters ago. A transmission that died the same month as a tooth. Margins so thin, one surprise erased them. The balance records your luck right alongside your choices, and it never labels which was which. From $0 to $1,000, life moves like a tide chart. Money arrives, rises, and drains to the same rocks by month's end. You are not drowning anymore, but you swim in place. The account resets like a game that will not save progress, and the reset date circles you like a moon. Watch a payday at this level. Money lands at dawn like a guest with luggage, and by noon, the rent has taken its coat, the utilities its shoes, the card minimums its hat. By dinner, the guest is a rumor. You did not spend your paycheck, you mostly just witnessed its connecting flight. Living here builds a strange expertise. You know what $40 does, exactly, in 3 different stores. You know the gas gauge's honest range past empty. Scarcity makes you a precision economist with a graduate degree nobody respects. The skill is real. The tragedy is how hard you had to study for it. $1,000 says you own a buffer of days, not yet choices. One flat tire stands between you and the minus sign, and some part of your brain staffs that checkpoint around the clock. People call it anxiety. It is really just accounting, running in a mind that never gets to clock out. At $1,000, the phone has a costume department. Every unknown number auditions as an emergency. The school, the landlord, the clinic, the garage. You answer with your stomach first and your voice second. A thin balance does not just limit purchases, it rewrites the soundtrack of an ordinary afternoon. Somewhere near 5,000, your body files a report before your brain does. You shop without a running total for the first time in years. You breathe to the bottom of your lungs in the cereal aisle, of all places. Nobody claps. The nervous system holds its own private ceremonies, and this one matters. Then one month, $500 survives. It just sits there, unclaimed by any emergency, and you catch yourself checking it like a nurse checks a pulse. This is the first threshold, and it is not financial. It is the first proof that money can stay with you. Everything afterward is built on that proof. There is a cruel line drawn straight through the middle of this level, the deductible. Below it, insurance is a word on a card, not a service you can afford to trigger. You ice the ankle and wait. The balance quietly decides which aches become appointments, and the body keeps the minutes of every postponement. At $10,000, something structural happens. A floor slides in beneath you. The furnace dies, and it is annoying, not apocalyptic. You absorb a bad month the way a building absorbs weather. Nobody at work knows your posture changed, or why meetings sting a little less. But it did, and you know. 10,000 also reveals a rare skill. You have learned to let money sit still. Most money in America never sleeps a full year in one place. It arrives and sprints for the exits, towards screens, wheels, and carts. Yours stays. Watch a person's balance hold steady for 4 seasons, and you have watched character. At 25,000, a transmission dies on a Tuesday, and you write the check the same afternoon. To the mechanic, it looks like nothing. It is not nothing. It is the exact moment a catastrophe got demoted to an errand, and only people who remember the old category ever taste the difference.
By 50,000, the account turns boring, and boring is the diploma. No drama, no countdowns, no rescue missions. You check it monthly out of habit, not hunger. Almost nobody warns you that wealth's first real signature is not excitement. It is the profound, luxurious dullness of nothing being on fire. Fair warning about this level. 10,000 is where money starts whispering. A newer car would be sensible. A trip is practically an investment in yourself. The balance measures something nobody advertises: your immunity to your own wish list. Most floors in this country get spent the very year they are finished. $100,000. 6 figures. The number sounds like a finish line and behaves like a hinge. For the first time, the money earns wages of its own. Interest that once bought gum now covers bills. You have hired your first employee, and it works weekends without ever once complaining. You cannot fluke your way to 100 grand on a normal paycheck. The number confesses years. Skipped upgrades, packed freezers, transfers that ran through birthdays and bad moods. Luck can hand someone a windfall. It cannot fake the pattern. 6 figures on an ordinary salary is a fingerprint, not a coincidence. 6 figures usually brings a new ritual. Once a year, you hold a board meeting with a single attendee. Coffee, a spreadsheet, 1 honest hour. What worked? What leaked? What changes? Poor months get managed hourly. Wealth gets governed annually. The calendar distance between those 2 sentences is the entire climb. Yet notice what 100,000 cannot buy back. The flinch. You still feel gas prices in your teeth, still hesitate over the good olive oil. Growing up close to zero installs reflexes at the firmware level, and no balance patches them. Plenty of 6-figure accounts are managed by hands that still tremble slightly. Around this level, rooms start feeling different. Not because anyone knows, because you know. A bad manager becomes a weather pattern instead of a warden. You speak 2 beats slower in tense meetings, the pace of a man holding return tickets. The balance never enters the room. The spine it built does. Between 200 and 500,000, the arithmetic turns eerie. Your money now out-earns your raises. A good market month adds more than a month of your labor. You check the math twice, certain of an error. There is no error. The part-time worker you hired has become a second household income. $500,000, and you have told exactly 1 person, maybe none. Not from shame, from physics. A known number changes every conversation it enters, and you have watched it happen to others. Silence is not modesty at this level. It is a fence around a garden you spent 15 years planting. Then comes a red week, and the market erases a year of your saving in 5 days. The old you would have bolted. The current you rereads history, mutes the news, and lets the automatic buys keep walking into the storm. Volatility is the toll booth on this road. Everyone pays. Few keep driving. The last stretch before $1 million is famously silent. No fireworks schedule themselves. Compounding does the heavy lifting now, and your job is mostly to not interrupt. Like watching bread rise, the worst thing you can do is keep opening the oven. Patience here is not virtue. It is procedure. $1 million. The number every movie promised would feel like champagne. Here is what it feels like on the actual Tuesday it happens. Like a Tuesday. The lawn still needs mowing. You still compare cereal prices out of pure reflex. The confetti, it turns out, was never included in the package. Read the million correctly. It does not say genius. It rarely says lucky. It says roughly 1,000 small decisions were made in rooms with nobody watching, and were made the same way each time. The number is boring on purpose. It is a monument built entirely out of uneventful Tuesdays. A funny thing happens to habits by this level. They fossilize. The coupon reflex, the pause before purchases, the allergy to payments. Friends assume the million would loosen them. It cannot. Those habits are not policies you enforce anymore. They are the wood grain, and the million is just the varnish. Between 1 million and 10, the money slowly turns abstract. Statements read like weather reports from a country you own but rarely visit. Digits gain commas the way trees gain rings, silently, while you are busy living. The skill of this stretch is strange, but essential. Caring enough to steward it, little enough to stay sane. Now the strangest level. At $10 million, the mirror flips outward. The balance stops describing you and starts rearranging everyone else. Lawyers materialize. Cousins develop business plans. Waiters remember you. The number no longer measures your options. It measures other people's behavior. And that is a different instrument entirely. Windfalls expose what the latter really measures. Hand a level 0 life a sudden million and watch it drain back to 0 in 3 years. The pattern documented over and over. The balance was never the skill. It was the snapshot of one. Skip the levels, and the money simply returns to your level of training. Past this line, you stop having money and start having weather. Your yes waters someone's harvest. Your no is a frost. People plan around you the way farmers plan around rain, and honesty gets scarce because nobody argues with the climate. The hardest job at 10 million is finding someone who still disagrees with you. 10 million also hires a small government. An accountant who calls you by your first name, a lawyer who does not, structures with acronyms, meetings about meetings. You now employ people whose entire job is watching the money watch itself. The balance bought freedom, then immediately invoiced you for its administration. And the asks scale with the digits. Foundations, cousins, startups, causes, strangers with binders. Each one reasonable, each one urgent. All of them arithmetic on your calendar. At this level, the balance stops asking what you can afford. It starts asking who you are, and it asks in public. Strangest of all, the memory of 0 becomes an asset. It calibrates every later level. You know what $1 weighs because you once carried one across a whole weekend. The people who struggle most at 10 million are often those who never learned the instrument at its lowest octave. Now stack all the levels and notice the constants. Every balance sleeps the same 8 hours if it is lucky. Coffee tastes identical at 0 and at 10 million. A Sunday is still 24 hours. The account scales your options to the horizon. It never adds a single minute to the day it serves. And remember what the X-ray misses. It cannot see that you drove your mother to her appointments. It has no cell for laughter, none for a marriage repaired, none for a neighbor's kid you quietly coached. People die at 0 having built fortunes the account was never designed to hold. Both ledgers are real. Only one prints statements. Here is the physics almost nobody teaches. Your balance is starlight. The number you see tonight left its source years ago. It reflects the decisions of a person 5 years back, their habits, their flinches, their quiet Fridays. You are not looking at your present. You are looking at your past, arriving late. Which means tonight works the same way in reverse. The balance of 5 years from now is being written by this week's invisible behavior. The transfer nobody sees. The cart abandoned before the register. The subscription finally canceled. Small light, sent forward, arriving as a number your future self will call luck. One last trap. You cannot read anyone else's balance from their driveway. Visible spending is often the receipt for an empty account, and quiet accounts often park behind dented doors. The loudest lifestyle on your street may be $900 from the minus sign. The X-ray never photographs the costume. One correction before the latter misleads you. Direction outranks altitude. 100,000 in slow retreat is a worse address than 10,000 on a steady climb. The first is a beautiful house on a sinking street. The second is a foundation being poured. Always read the arrow before you admire the floor. So convert your number into the only unit that matters. Divide the balance by 1 month of your life's cost. The answer is not dollars. It is months of no. Months you could survive a bad boss, a bad market, a bad diagnosis. 0 months, 12 months, 300 months. That is the real ladder. One mercy hides inside the whole ladder. You never have to climb it all at once. From minus to zero. From 0 to the first 500 that stays. From a floor to a hinge. Each level only ever asks you to reach the next one, and every level above the minus sign sleeps better than the one below it. So tonight, look at your number without flinching, whatever it is. Ask what it honestly says about the last 5 years. Then ask the better question. What do you want it to say about the next 5? Put your answer below, in months if you dare. Someone at your exact level is reading, and starting anyway.